what is the true cost of a single missed warning? In modern warfare, air superiority is everything, and Ukraine just suffered a devastating blow to its fleet. Losing dozens of jets in a single Russian attack is a setback that reshapes the battlefield. While the fog of war often hides the true scale of loss, this specific event stands out as a turning point we have to discuss. Today, we're breaking down exactly how it happened and what it means for the future of the skies. The Russian Ministry of Defense recently issued a brief but telling statement. Russian aerospace forces had shot down another Ukrainian Air Force Su-27 fighter jet. No dramatic footage was released, no detailed coordinates provided. Yet the message was clear. This was not an isolated incident. It was the continuation of a long trend. According to multiple reports, this latest downing effectively completes the destruction of Ukraine's remaining Su-27 fleet. In other words, one of the Ukrainian Air Force's most capable legacy platforms has been wiped out. To understand why this matters, we need to go back in time. The Su-27 was developed by the Soviet Union in the late 1970s and early 1980s as a direct response to Western air superiority fighters like the F-15. Designed for long-range interception, high maneuverability, and dominance in aerial combat, the aircraft entered service in 1984 in two primary versions, the Su-27S for the Air Force and the Su-27P for Air Defense Forces. When the Soviet Union collapsed, Ukraine inherited a portion of this formidable fleet. Alongside Russia, Belarus, and Uzbekistan, Ukraine became one of the few post-Soviet states to operate the Su-27. For years, these aircraft formed the backbone of Ukraine's heavy fighter aviation. However, inheritance is not the same as sustainability. Decades of limited funding, spare part shortages, and inconsistent modernization gradually eroded Ukraine's ability to keep these jets combat-ready. By the time the full-scale war began in 2022, only a fraction of Ukraine's Su-27s were operational. Even so, they remained valuable assets, fast, powerful, and capable of launching air-to-air and air-to-ground weapons. That is precisely why they became priority targets. Russian forces systematically hunted Ukrainian Su-27s, using a combination of long-range air defense systems, fighter patrols, and missile strikes. Some jets were shot down in the air, others were destroyed on the ground. Over time, the attrition became irreversible. The latest reported shootdown is not just another statistic, it marks the effective end of Ukraine's Su-27 chapter. A fighter lineage that once symbolized air superiority, now erased from the battlefield. The loss of the Su-27 fleet becomes even more significant when viewed in comparison to Russia's air power. Russia entered the war with one of the largest and most diverse air forces in the world. Its inventory includes hundreds of modernized fighters such as the Su-30SM, Su-35S, and Su-34, supported by long-range bombers, airborne early warning aircraft, and one of the densest air defense networks on the planet. Ukraine, by contrast, has fought with a patchwork force of aging Soviet-era aircraft, operating under constant pressure and with limited freedom of maneuver. In recent months, however, a new factor has entered the equation: Western-supplied F-16 fighter jets. By late 2025, Ukraine had received dozens of F-16 fighter jets from its Western partners. The Netherlands completed delivery of all 24 pledged aircraft by May 2025. Denmark committed 19 jets, Norway at least 12, and Belgium pledged up to 30, with deliveries scheduled to begin later in 2025. In total, around 85 aircraft have been promised. Ukraine began integrating these jets into combat roles by mid-2025, reportedly conducting more than 300 strike and patrol missions. While the exact number of operational aircraft remains unclear due to reported losses and ongoing transfers, the F-16 now represents Ukraine's most modern combat aircraft. On paper, this looks like a turning point. The F-16 is a capable multi-role fighter with modern avionics, precision weapons, and NATO-standard integration. But air power is not decided by aircraft alone. Even with F-16s in service, Ukraine's overall fleet remains vastly outnumbered and outgunned. Russia retains numerical superiority, deeper logistics, and the ability to rotate aircraft and crews with minimal strain. More importantly, Russia controls the escalation ladder in long-range strike warfare. Which leads to the real question: can new aircraft survive long enough to make a difference? The presence of F-16 does not automatically change the balance of power in the skies. In fact, Ukraine's experience so far suggests that aircraft vulnerability remains one of its greatest challenges. Historically, Ukrainian aircraft are rarely destroyed in dramatic dogfights. Instead, they are often eliminated before they even take off. Russian missile and drone strikes have repeatedly targeted air bases, runways, hangars, fuel depots, and maintenance facilities. Aircraft parked on the ground, especially those concentrated at known bases, are highly vulnerable to cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and loitering munitions. This is how many Ukrainian aircraft, including Su-27s, were lost. A modern fighter is only useful if it can be protected, dispersed, and sustained. Without hardened shelters, constant relocation, and layered air defense, even advanced jets become expensive targets rather than effective weapons. The F-16 faces the same risks. While it brings new capabilities, it does not eliminate the underlying problem. Ukraine lacks full airspace control. Russian long-range air defense systems, such as the S-400, can threaten aircraft far beyond the front line. Russian missiles can reach airfields across the country. To counter this, Ukraine must either develop a credible deterrent against deep strikes or adopt extreme dispersal tactics, hiding aircraft at multiple locations, using improvised runways, and limiting ground exposure. Both options come with severe operational constraints. In this context, the destruction of the Su-27 fleet is more than the loss of old jets. It is a warning. Technology alone cannot overcome structural vulnerability. Without secure basing and air defense dominance, even Western aircraft risk following the same path. That's all for today. See you in the next video.